The Michigan Man Podcast, episode 148. Trey Burke leads the Wolverines to a big home victory on Sunday against the Fighting Illini. This week it's on the road to Penn State and then back to Chrysler Center next Sunday for the much-anticipated rematch with the Spartans. That and more coming up on this week's show. This is the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine for Wolverine fans from coast to coast. Go Blue and welcome to this week's show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. It's a big week for Michigan basketball, and hopefully they have their mojo back after an impressive win at home Sunday over the Fighting Illini. This week it's Penn State on the road, and then back home Sunday for a much-anticipated rematch with the Spartans. Mark Snyder from the Detroit Free Press will be joining us on Michigan Gameday in just a few minutes to talk Wolverine hoops. Coach Red Berenson's team has notched it up again in February, but still needs to win the CCHA tournament if it has any hopes of keeping the NCAA tournament streak alive. Who knows? It could happen. On Michigan Game Day, we have two for the price of one today. After we chat hoops with Mark Snyder, we'll be joined by Geoff Chiles from Michigan Hockey Net and get his thoughts on what Michigan's chances are as we approach the end of the regular season this weekend. Coach Barnes-Arico's Lady Wolverines have dropped two in a row heading into this week's action, both to ranked teams. They're still in the hunt for an NCAA tournament appearance, but need to get back on the winning track this week. They hope to do that on Thursday when they entertain Northwestern at Chrysler Center. Coach Carol Hutchins has to be pleased with softball's start this season. It was another good weekend in the Sunshine State as Michigan took 4 of 5 in the NFCA Leadoff Classic down in Clearwater. They'll be back down in Orlando this week to compete in the Citrus Classic. Coach Bakich and the baseball team picked up their first victories of the season this weekend, taking 2 of 3 from Fordham University. On Sunday, they dropped a 5-3 decision to the New York Mets in an exhibition game. They'll join the women and be back in action this weekend in Florida. Coach Brady Hoke thought his entire staff would be back for this coming season, but we learned last week that defensive line coach Jerry Montgomery was heading to Oklahoma to coach the Sooners' defensive line. No word yet on who will replace Coach Montgomery. Well, the home stretch is here for Michigan basketball, and it should be an exciting next couple of weeks. Beat writer Mark Snyder is up next as we talk Michigan hoops here on the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine. With us on Michigan Game Day to talk a little Michigan hoops, Mark Snyder from the Detroit Free Press. Mark, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, nice win on Sunday against the Illini, Mark, and in the second half, it seemed Michigan looked more like that team we'd seen earlier in the season, a little bit more of their mojo coming back. They looked a lot better, didn't they?
Yeah, I think that getting out in transition is such a big key for this team, because it affects their defense. Their defense creates the offense. It affects their defense. They want to play harder, and that's where they have a schematic advantages that when they can push, because they got athletes, they got people who can shoot it and run the floor. So there aren't many teams that can run with them like that. So when they can put themselves into that mode, it's hard for other teams to overcome.
What did they do different than they had been doing the last 4 or 5 games?
Well, I think they're more physical, and they hit the glass pretty hard in the second half. I mean, they went into halftime, they were down, I think, 18-12 on the boards, and they ended up, out-rebounding Illinois, and they won the rebounding battle. I think it was like 29-28 or something. So they really hit it hard, and they got the outlets. They were looking to run as soon as they got the ball off the glass, and they kept Illinois from getting its chances. So those are key opportunities. You play good defense, good things will happen. This team, played it for most of the game, but especially in the second half, and they turned it into something.
Yeah, I don't think Illinois in the second half, Mark, I could be wrong about this, I don't think they got an offensive rebound in the half.
Yeah, I don't think they did. I think they had 8 in the first half and none in the second. And as Illinois coach John Gross said, he says, you think we'd even fall into one, which really says something about Michigan and, its commitment to focusing on the glass in the second half.
Yeah, that is an amazing stat. They really cleaned it up in the second half. Amazing game for Trey Burke again. He hit the 1,000-point mark late in the game, and he really, again, put the team on his back and took over the game in the second half, didn't he?
It is. It's just amazing, I think is the right word, just because you're overwhelmed when he does things. Even though you've seen it so many times, he has such control over the game, and he can put the ball where he is. He gets the ball, he's in a mid-range, he throws up a floater, he gets a kickout from Tim Hardaway. He's 4 feet behind the three-point line, but he still pulls the trigger, and he hits it because he knows he can make that shot. And that's the difference between Trey last year and the Trey this year, is that he's always had confidence, but what he has now is the understanding that he can do more things. He would take that shot last year and probably would have missed it, that three-pointer. But this year he takes it, and he expects it to go in because he's stronger, because he's in better shape, and because he's played even better a lot of times in the second half than the first half because he's still at that level and everyone else around him is fatiguing.
And Mark, I was sitting there watching him play yesterday, and I know we've only seen him for 2 seasons. It seems like longer than that. But when I was watching him play, I thought, when, if ever, have we seen a Michigan point guard? It's been a long time, maybe Ricky Green, that could take over a game like that.
Yeah, I think Gary Grant had flashes of that, but maybe not the same scoring ability that Burke has. He was more of a distributor, but he had some abilities. But yeah, Ricky Green, I guess, definitely could put the ball in the hoop that way too. Yeah, Michigan, I don't know that over history point guards has been the stress there, but yeah, Burke is a unique player. I mean, Darius Morris had flashes, but his was not. He never had the jump shot, so people could leave him on the perimeter and let him go. So, yeah, I think that Burke is a unique player, and I think he's really going to be in that National Player of the Year conversation all the way till the end.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Jordan Morgan played 17 minutes yesterday. Still is not 100%. That's what Coach Beilein says. But, man, is it clear he makes a huge difference on both ends of the court for this team when he's in there.
I think especially on the defensive end. I think that, he's still working to get that feel on offense. I mean, sometimes Morgan has some trouble holding onto the ball and stuff like that. But on defense, ESPN highlighted one specific play where he was really amazing. I don't know if you remember it. He covered all this ground defensively. He went to the top of the key, to get out on a shooter. He dropped back down to cover the post. Then he went all the way outside to challenge a three-point shot. He covered the whole ground. For a guy on a great ankle, that's something. A guy on a bad ankle, I mean, it's just amazing.
Coach Beilein mentioned after the game in his presser yesterday that it was no coincidence that while Jordan Morgan was out, they had defensive problems. So yesterday, I think you really saw the difference. Even maybe an 80% Jordan Morgan makes to the contribution on the defensive end.
Yeah, Beilein said it's more of an anticipatory thing than necessarily a physical thing. That he has played in the system long enough. He knows where he's supposed to be. He's seen everything. That what he does is he just gets there a couple seconds quicker than McGarry or for Max Bielfeldt in some situations. Bielfeldt obviously didn't play yesterday, and that's the difference. Those couple seconds, that ability to move, to anticipate, to know where to go. It just closes off the lane. It's one pass that the other guy can't make. It's one shot he won't take just because there's a hand in his face.
Well, Nick Stauskas yesterday, Mark, seemed to be struggling. He's been struggling as of late to find his touch. He still is putting it up, but he's having a much tougher time getting good looks now. Karis LeVert saw more time on Sunday, probably because of that. Do you expect that trend to continue?
I don't know. I guess it's going to be game to game. Stauskas, I still feel, is this team's biggest weapon because of his ability to shoot the three. But if he's not making it, he doesn't do much else for you, and that's the biggest problem with Stauskas at this point. And LeVert, he can shoot the three a little bit. I mean, yesterday you saw, but that's not his primary game. What he does is he can play defense. He can handle the ball a little bit. He can move, and that's where he can set himself apart. Because even if his shot's not going, he's not scoring, he can do a lot of other things. And that's where Stauskas needs to work on his game. He needs to be able to offer something to them when he's not hitting those shots, or else he really can't be on the floor. When they have other options. I mean, I think that's the simplest way to say it. It's not necessarily about him. It's more about the team's depth, and if they have an option, they're going to go to it.
Well, Wednesday the team travels to Penn State to play a game that they should win, and it's another road game. And like most teams, Penn State much better at home, aren't they? Yeah,
I think so. And Penn State played pretty well here, at Michigan last week. So I think that Michigan's got to be ready for that. I think Michigan's played better on the road this year, but in this last stretch, when they've played these road games, I think the last great road game they played really is at Illinois. So the Wisconsin and the Michigan State and Indiana, those are still going to be in their head. And they got to come out, and I think they have to really prove that you want to prove you're a elite team. You go into a place, a team that's winless in the conference, and you stick it to them. You win by 15, and you say, we are a dominant team. We should win games like this. This is what we're supposed to do. This is what we did earlier in the year, so now we have to do it again.
Oh, right. And if you want to stay in the Big Ten race, they have to right now. And they say most years 500 on the road or a little bit better, win out at home. And I think if Michigan gets a win Wednesday night at Penn State, that puts them at 500 on the road, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think that that those records are kind of deceiving, though. I think it's about when you're playing at the level Michigan is, or Michigan expects to, as one of the top 10 teams in the country, you have to win big. Not only do you have to take care of your business against smaller teams like Penn State and Purdue next week, I think you got to beat good teams. They're out of chances right now, to get those teams on the road, and they didn't really do that this year. But you got to win one or two of those. You got to prove that you can go into someone's building and an elite team's building and do that. And that's maybe the biggest question mark about this team so far. They really haven't even beaten an elite team yet, let alone an elite team on the road.
Our guest on Michigan Game Day is Mark Snyder, beat writer from the Detroit Free Press. Mark, a lot of the fans have recently questioned the mental and the physical toughness of this team, especially after what happened in East Lansing a week and a half ago. Even given the fact we're counting on 5 freshmen to be significant contributors, and I guess a lot of other teams are too, do you think that's fair or just fans being fans?
Well, I think you got to take the youth into account. I think that's part of it. But, having Trey Burke, as we've talked about, that makes this a unique season, and Burke, I don't think anyone expects him to be here next year. So this is your shot, and whether you're young or not, you got to go with it. And so they're going to have a shorter leash on guys like Stauskas yesterday, and they just realized at this point, there have been games when Stauskas has stayed out through the whole game, even when he struggled. And I think they're kind of past that point. I think that this bye week they kind of said, okay, we got to make our push. We got to know what we have with the bench. Like Albrecht played a couple key minutes yesterday. They're going deeper in the front court, and whoever's working, whether it's Morgan, even if his is just defense, if it's McGarry, when it's just offense, they're going to have to mix and match. I mean, that's the way this has got to be, the rest of the way. And if you're young, you're young, but we'll just find someone else to go in there.
Well, it's going to be a tough final stretch, and it's pretty clear that Michigan is going to have to win out if they hope to, gain a share of the Big Ten championship. But that, because of the schedule, would certainly put to rest any question regarding their toughness if they could pull that off, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But I still think that's even a long shot. Indiana would still have to lose again, probably to Ohio State at home, which just seems kind of a long shot too. I think that right now, I mean, as much as they want a Big Ten title, I think the goal is looking at the Big Ten tournament and kind of they got to play for a bye now, and to get a bye, if everything holds with most of these teams, they probably even have to beat Michigan State or Indiana, one of those at home. So that's probably an important thing to look at right now, even though they say they don't look big picture. And then you're seeding in the NCAA tournament. Obviously, the higher the seed, the better, in terms of your path. So that's an important thing too.
Well, a lot of fun coming up here in the next couple of weeks. Our guest on the show today has been Michigan beat writer Mark Snyder from the Detroit Free Press. As always, Mark, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks to Michigan beat writer Mark Snyder from the Detroit Free Press for being our guest today. It's been a good month of hockey for Coach Red Berenson and the Wolverines, but it might be too little, too late. Coming up next on Michigan Game Day, we talk Michigan hockey with beat writer Geoff Chiles from Michigan Hockey Net. Here on the Michigan Man podcast on GBMW Go Blue, Michigan Wolverine. With us on our Michigan Game Day segment today to talk a little Michigan hockey is the guy who covers them from Michigan Hockey Net, Geoff Chiles. Geoff, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Geoff, Michigan took a pair from Ohio State on the road this weekend. Only their second series sweep of the season. Both of those have happened this month. Red Berenson said after Saturday's game that it was the best the Wolverines have played this season. After seeing them, hard to disagree with that, isn't it?
It's very hard to disagree. What's really sticking out to me is you have guys that are going hard to the net. They're working hard on the power play. You saw the power play come to life this weekend. You saw guys like Andrew Kopp, who has really been a pleasant surprise this season. He's got, I think, around 8 goals or so in the season, the Ann Arbor product. But you saw sort of what he did, the team as a whole, and Alex Guptill coming to life for Michigan, and we've sort of been wondering where that's been so far this season. But he picked up a couple of goals on the weekend, and Steve Racine with a couple of great outings for Coach Berenson in the net. The problem I've noticed with the goaltenders this season is they really looked out of place, not covering post to post very well. And with Racine, you've seen a guy who just looks comfortable. His glove hand was sharp. Not giving up a ton of rebounds. Still some things to clean up, but on the whole, he's played really well for Michigan. And defensively, we've seen so many odd man rushes and giveaways this year, and you saw them sort of clean up some of that in this weekend series.
Chemistry, injuries, poor goaltending, lack of effort at times. Observers of this year's team have, attributed the team's poor play to some of all of those. And, when you look at the talent on this team, so many NHL draft choices, why do you think it has taken so long for this team to round into possibly now the most cohesive they've been all season?
Well, I think a lot of that, you hit the nail on the head there, Mike. A lot of that has to do with some of the intangible things like chemistry and leadership. Nobody's really separated himself vocally as the leader. I mean, you got Trey with the C, and you got Bennett with one of the A's. And, I mean, it's sort of well known as far as A.J. Trias goes. I mean, he's a great offensive player, but he's not really the type of, rah-rah vocal leader that Michigan's been accustomed to with guys like, Porter or Klarick in the past, or even more recently with Glenn Benning and Wahlberg and some of that senior leadership. So I think leadership has been the issue, and they really haven't gotten a lot of offensive balance this year. It's been very spotty, kind of touch and go, game to game. There really hasn't been a lot of consistency. AJ started off the season strong, has sort of tailed off, and I really don't think, me personally, in my opinion, that he's given the maximum effort you want on both ends of the ice. And just other issues defensively. I've seen them make the same mistakes time and time again this year. They're not really, learning from any mistakes they've made, which is really kind of odd for a Berenson coached team. Turnovers in the defensive zone, forwards not getting back and back checking the opposing team. And when you're not making those simple plays, it's really hard to win games. So a lot of what you mentioned also, I would touch on leadership and also, just offensive droughts at times. Just rumors, nothing concrete, but there's been some reports, I can't really verify what they are, that, members of the team have sort of separated themselves from other factions of the team, and you have some off-ice problems going on. I'm not going to really get into that, but I just think that when you have a team that's, reportedly and allegedly divided like that, it's a little bit hard to unite and sort of come together. So I think all those things, and they just haven't been making the type of quality plays that lead to winning games. Like I said about the turnovers, winning battles in the corners for pucks. You haven't really seen that just consistent effort all season.
And all of those things, Geoff, when you hear someone say that, just seem so shocking when you think of this being a Red Berenson coach team.
Oh, it is shocking. I mean, Red's a guy who's, he can be very hard on his team, but it's well known that he's fair with his players. I mean, if a guy's not performing, he's going to sit him out. You saw that earlier this season. I believe it was Guptill. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he left him home for the Western Michigan series, I believe. So things like that, and you've seen scratches, sort of people coming in and out of the lineup, not a lot of gelling going on. But I think that Red knows what he has to do. He's a coach that doesn't really get worked up about anything. He understands the struggles of this team and the lack of consistency. But him and Coach Powers and everybody else, they're at the wheel of the ship, so to speak. But sometimes these things happen, and as Michigan hockey fans, myself included, we've been very, very spoiled over the years and have sort of lucked out to not have one of these types of seasons. But unfortunately, with the injuries and the inconsistent play, it's sort of been the perfect storm of just bad play for Michigan. So I guess it was bound to happen sooner rather than later, as much as we don't want to admit it. But it is what it is this season. So
the defense has been better come February, and due in large part to the fact that John Merrill has been back. Solid play from freshman Jacob Trouba, but Jacob spends maybe a little too much time in the penalty box taking some bad penalties. But overall, the defensive play has been disappointing this season. Do you have any explanation as to why that is?
I think playing defensively, I mean, there are a lot of things that go into it. In terms of face-offs, I think we've lost one too many face-offs this year. You spend a lot of time in your own zone, you get tired. Those are a little more general things, but specifically, I don't really think it's great that we have Merrill back. I don't think we've gotten the type of defensive, solid defensive play from guys like him and Moffey, who, in my opinion, Moffey as a senior has made many mistakes in the defensive zone this year that I really didn't expect. He's regressed, in my opinion, as a senior player. I can pick out a couple of plays just thinking back to the Notre Dame series at Yost. He made a play behind the net, blind, no look, backhand pass, and Notre Dame intercepted it and put it in the back of the net. That was on Yost rededication night. He's just made a lot of sort of hasty, quick plays this season with the puck breaking out of the zone that has many times has resulted in pucks in the back of our net. It's good to have Merrill back. You mentioned him getting some quality play from him. He really likes to be a physical player. Put on the body, has a good shot. I mean, he's obviously going to be a great pro. He defensively has not maybe made plays that dazzled me this year, and I kind of expected a little more from him. I'm a little disappointed in his play defensively. Obviously he's missed a lot of time. So in terms of those two guys, two names that stand out, Trouba has been a great addition to this team and sort of that big shot that we've needed from the defense from the power play. Some of his goals have been some of the best I've seen. I mean, reminded me of Jack Johnson, just the way he winds up and just uncorks a shot from the blue line. I really hope we see him in Ann Arbor for many years to come, but I have a feeling that it won't be as long a stay for Trouba in Ann Arbor as we've hoped. And then Zuma and Serval, who've definitely gotten better as the year has gone on, in addition to Chason. They haven't really been called upon to do anything spectacular, but they've moved the puck. The breakouts work to them. They've gotten the puck out of the zone, and they chipped in very quietly offensively when we needed them to. So I think it's a younger defensive core. I think hopefully next season you're going to see some progress in them in terms of just better decision making, more intelligence moving the puck out of their own zone. So I think that's something we can all hope for.
You're right. There's been a lot of factors involved with that defense this year, a lot of youth, and a lot of that has played into the disappointment in the nets. Jared Rutledge came in highly regarded this season. Steve Racine was considered a nice option, nice backup option possibly. And then you had Steve Janicek returning. As we head into the final week of the regular season, how do you assess the play of those three goaltenders in the nets as we reach the Ferris State weekend?
Well, I think I think at a time in, what was it, late January, early February, when Janusek started a couple of games, and he's a third string goaltender for a reason. We didn't really expect him to be starting, but we've really lacked the depth of the goaltending position. I think there have been times where there have been flashes where both Racine and Rutledge have shown the ability to be quality goaltenders at the Division I level, but they haven't put it together consistently. I've seen a lot of rebounds given up, specifically by Rutledge, but from between the two of them, post to post, you really have to be quick at this level, get back to your post and cover any wraparounds or plays from behind the net. I've seen a lot of sloppy play in that regard from the two of them, and also just the ability to mentally, put goals behind them. But the problem with a lot of the team this year has been, and if it starts from the goaltender out, defensively and offensively, is as soon as a mistake happened or they caught a bad break, they just really haven't been able to recover from that. And hockey is a game where you really have to have a short memory. And that's been sort of a problem for these two guys. And I think you have the hope that their lateral movement, some of their skills at the Division I level are going to be sharpened up a little bit as we move into next season. But just many goals this season where I have to believe Coach Berenson is looking at it on the bench and just shaking his head because they've been 5-hole goals that the opposing forward has had an easy look at. They've been, tap-ins from certain points in the net, and it's almost like the goaltenders, both Racine and Rutledge, have sort of been in a slow-mo mode, and they haven't been able to, ramp up, the speed of their play at this level to be quality goaltenders because forwards, in the CCHA and around the country are just so quick on their shot. And these guys, it's been an adjustment period. We've had goaltenders at Michigan in the past. You look at Steve Shields and Marty Turco, Billy Sauer, all these great names that they've been able to come in and provide that steadying presence in the net. And it just hasn't come that easy for Racine and Rutledge. To be fair to them, the defense in front of them hasn't been all that great, but you were kind of hoping they'd be able to steal a game here or there, but it hasn't happened for Michigan.
Our guest on Michigan Game Day today is Geoff Chiles, who covers Michigan hockey for Michigan Hockey Net, does a great job on a great site. Geoff, last month Red was asked if he was enjoying coaching this team, and he said no, he wasn't. He never throws his players or the team as a whole under the bus. Never does that. I've never heard him do that. But he looks and sounds at times in his post-game pressers like this season has really worn him out, doesn't he?
I would agree with that. I've been to my share, after games in Yost this season, and he's a very proud man. He's not one to admit, when a season has got the better of him, so to speak. But there's been, visible and audible frustration in the post-game press conferences, and he's trying, and the team is trying. It's obvious they're not going out there to lose games, but with the injuries and the poor play and a lot of the youth from this team, it sounds like I'm making excuses, but it's just the reality of it. And, players not being able to adjust to the Division I level. And I think he had hoped that this team would be a little further along when you have, a senior like Trey with the C, wearing the C or something like that. But I think he's mixed and matched a lot of things. He's tried Racine in goal. He's tried Rutledge. He's tried Janusek. He's moved a lot of players around in different lines, and you've seen points this season where, especially to me, Phil DiGiuseppe is playing a lot better. He's passing the puck better. I really like what he's done. He's got 23 points on the year. Nieves is a guy who I've been contacted by. He's a Rangers draft pick. I was contacted by a Rangers blogger to talk about him, and I said, you guys love Carl Hagelin, you're going to love this kid at the next level. So there are pieces there that Red has had, but he definitely seems frustrated. And he described the team in a press conference earlier this season as fragile. And I think that's, leave it to Coach Berenson. I think that's the most apt, adjective to describe this team. They've been fragile. Their confidence has been shattered. The will and the effort of the team has been an issue. So, what can you do? You can't fault him for being upset. I mean, he's not going to show it all the time, but he's just I think, doing the best job he can to motivate this team. It just, for whatever reason, internal issues, team chemistry, they just haven't responded. So.
Well, Geoff, this weekend, Ferris State pays a visit to Yost. Final weekend of the regular season, as usual. It's an exciting weekend, a very emotional weekend for the seniors. But it's also very important for the team to continue to build on this month's momentum and close out strong heading into the CCHA tournament, isn't it?
As far as the standings go, I've been checking them periodically, and Michigan still has a chance to get that 8th spot in the standings, but they have to take care of business this weekend against Ferris. You have all the emotion of senior night. You're hoping that you give Racine another start, if not two. I really like what Red's done in terms of, there's been no clear-cut first line this season. I really like what he's done with putting Kopp and putting Selman up there at times, AJ centering. So I really like what he's done with that first line. He's trying to, spark the team. He's trying to give them energy. So I'm hoping their play continues. And obviously what Gutfeld's done this month has been key. I mean, he's been on fire. I really like the boys' nose for the net. He's gone hard to the net. He's shot the puck more. You saw that especially in the MSU series. What he's done has been, I think, both he and Gutfeld, we've expected more from them. But, I mean, who knows what's going to happen. They've gotten hot at the right time. I think Gutfeld's he's got 11 goals on the season now. Du Bois has got 8 himself. So they've really come on, and I'm expecting them to Ferris State's obviously ahead of them in the standings. I'm expecting Michigan to compete with Ferris, and you hope that they come out with a sweep.
Well, and the regular season concludes this weekend, and I think we all know the only way this Michigan team can make it into the NCAA tournament for a 23rd consecutive year is going to be winning the CCHA tournament. We can see they're peaking right now, playing their best hockey, which is exactly what you want. But winning the tournament is going to be a tall order. Do you think they have any chance of pulling that off?
I mean, I would be considered quite negative if I didn't give them a sliver of a chance. I mean, I've been going to games at Yost since I was a kid. Growing up a Michigan fan, being a Michigan alumnus. I mean, it's been hard for me to watch the team this year and to just see them continue to make the same mistakes and play as poorly as they have. But I have to sort of separate my allegiance as an alumnus from what I'm doing covering the team in the media. So my first season as a blogger, that's been a little hard, but it's something I've learned. And as far as the team goes, there's always a chance. I mean, you saw that in 2010 when Hunwick came in and led the team to the CCHA tournament and basically to the Frozen Four. We won't get into that goal in 2010, but they should have been in the Frozen Four that year. So there's always a chance. I think when you have the pieces, getting hot with Gutfeld and Du Bois and Kopp and Selman and all those guys, you have them playing like they are. There's definitely a chance. I think the one issue for me is going to be, their confidence and goaltending. Like we've seen them how they've responded to when things have not gone well, and it's not been a pretty sight. When the chips get down for them, are they going to be able to respond in a positive way and fight back in a game, or are they just going to, basically fold? I mean, especially if you're not hosting a home playoff series at Yost, what are you going to do when, you're down a goal or two, you're killing off a penalty on the road? It's not going to be an easy task for this team, and I'd be doing them a disservice if I said it's, there's a good possibility. I mean, let's be honest, there's not a good possibility with the way they've played, but there's always a chance, and I think if, the team has their confidence at a level that, is, doing a good service to them, there's a possibility. But Racine and his play and goal, is he going to start in the CCHA tournament? We don't know, but I think just, the intangibles like confidence and those sorts of things, and also a much more definable quality like goaltending, I think are going to be the telltale factors for this team. It's really going to be rough to see the tournament streak end, but, as the old cliche goes, it's not over till it's over. So we can only watch and hope that this momentum they have right now carries into the postseason for them.
That's right. You never know what's going to happen. Should be an exciting next couple of weeks. Our guest on Michigan Game Day today has been Geoff Chiles, who covers the Wolverines for Michigan Hockey Net. Geoff, we appreciate you taking the time, and hopefully, if the boys can put together a run into March, into the CCHA and then maybe even keep that streak alive, we hope to get you back on the show.
Thanks a lot, Mike. We all hope that, and thank you for having me on today, and go Blue.
Go Blue, Geoff. It was a busy week in Michigan athletics, and we'll take a look at some of the headline stories coming up next on Wolverine Quick Hits as we wrap it up for another week here on the Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue, Michigan Wolverine. On Wolverine Quick Hits today, to reach 1,000 career points is a landmark that only a distinguished number of Wolverines have been able to accomplish. And to do so in only 2 years is a feat that a very select number, only 7 of the Wolverines, can claim. Amongst the short list of extremely talented players in Michigan history are Bill Bunton, Cassie Russell, and Phil Hubbard, all of whom have their jerseys hanging in the rafters of Chrysler Center. Sophomore point guard Trey Burke is now amongst those players, scoring his 1,000th point Sunday afternoon in the Wolverines' victory over Illinois. It's definitely an honor to be able to say that I have hit that mark here in only my sophomore year at Michigan. Burke commented following the game, "I'm just honored to be mentioned with the great group of guys like Cassie Russell, Phil Hubbard, and the others who accomplished this as well. They paved the way for me to be here today. They brought this program to what it is now." The impressive landmark is just one of several accomplishments that have landed Burke as a top 12 finalist for the Bob Cousy Top Point Guard Award and Oscar Robertson Player of the Year Award. He also remains one of the finalists for the John Wooden Player of the Year Award. Of course, the Wolverines in action tomorrow night, Thursday night, at Penn State, and then back home for that big nationally televised game Sunday against the Spartans. In other news, Michigan defensive line coach Jerry Montgomery is heading to Oklahoma in a similar capacity. Montgomery has spent the past 2 seasons with the Wolverines and has a connection to Bob Stoops through the University of Iowa. Montgomery would replace Jackie Shipp, who will not return for the 2013 season. No word from Coach Hoke on who will replace Coach Montgomery. The University of Michigan women's basketball team comeback bid fell short as the Wolverines cut a 19-point deficit to 4 points in the second half, but could not get any closer in a 68-57 loss to Penn State on Sunday at the Bryce Jordan Center. Senior guard Kate Thompson led Michigan with a career-best 25 points, with senior forward Nia Jordan recording a double-double of 14 points and 10 boards. Senior forward Rachel Sheffer joined the duo in double figures with 10 points. U of M shot 35.2% from the floor compared to 42.4% for Penn State. Michigan closes out the home portion of the regular season Thursday night, hosting Northwestern at 7 p.m. Michigan now 19-8 overall, 8-6 in the Big Ten, and they are still alive when it comes to a second consecutive appearance in the NCAA tournament. With the end of the CCHA regular season just 1 week away, the weekend sweep of Ohio State appears to have the University of Michigan hockey team rounding into playoff form just in the nick of time. Saturday night, 2 goals by Phil DiGiuseppe and a highlight reel winning goal by Alex Guptill in the third period led the Wolverines to a 6-3 win and a sweep of the Buckeyes in the 2-game weekend series at Value City Arena. It is only the second 2-game sweep the Wolverines have been able to muster this season, and both have come this month. The Wolverines beat Michigan State on February 1st and February 2nd for their other sweep. The Wolverines play Ferris State this weekend at Yost Ice Arena to end the regular season. Both games start at 7:35 p.m. The CCHA playoffs will begin the following week, and it's a big weekend at Yost as it is also the weekend to honor the seniors on the team. Michigan has made the NCAA tournament for 22 consecutive years, and it will need to win the CCHA playoffs to continue that streak. Michigan 12-18-2 overall, 8-15-2 in the CCHA, heading into this weekend's closing action with Ferris State. The University of Michigan softball team, ranked number 15 this week, spotted DePaul 4 runs on 3 hits in the second inning, and despite a comeback attempt, fell to the Blue Demons 4-3 on Sunday at the NFCA Leadoff Classic held in Clearwater, Florida. The Wolverines finished the NFCA Leadoff Classic with a 4-1 record, defeating number 12 Louisiana Lafayette on Friday and Illinois State, and UC Davis and Hofstra on Saturday. The Maize and Blue resumes play this Friday in the Citrus Classic in Orlando, Florida, against Georgia Tech and Texas A&M. In all, the Wolverines will play 5 games in the tournament. Michigan off to another great start, ranked number 15 in the country with a record of 10 wins and 3 losses. The University of Michigan baseball team split a doubleheader with Fordham on Saturday at Tradition Field, the home of the New York Mets spring training complex. Michigan won the opener of the double dip 10-2 and fell in the nightcap 14-11. Michigan played an exhibition game against the New York Mets on Sunday and lost 5-3. They will return to action this weekend down in Florida. The 2 wins over Fordham were the first for the Wolverines this season, who head into this week's action with a record of 2-4. It's a busy time of the year on the Wolverine athletic front, as we're all aware, so make sure you keep up on all the latest news by becoming a member here at GBMW. Visit www.gbmwolverine.com and sign up for membership today. Along with all of the great features and news stories, we also have a very active message board where Michigan fans can hang out and chat or eavesdrop on what Wolverine fans think about the goings-on in Ann Arbor. So do it today. Become a member at www.gbmwolverine.com and get your daily fix of the latest Wolverine news and talk. Also, a reminder to our iTunes listeners, if you could just take a minute to review the show at the iTunes store, we would appreciate it. It really does help a lot. Thanks to our guests today, Mark Snyder from the Detroit Free Press and Geoff Chiles from Michigan Hockey Net. Don't forget to join us again next week, and please tell your friends about the show. Until then, have a great Wolverine week. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick, and as always, go Blue. Thanks for listening to the Michigan Man podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine. You can find us on the web at www.gbmwolverine.com. That's www.gbmwolverine.com. For audio posts or other fan feedback, please call our listener line at 313-263-4842. That's 313-263-4842. Email fan feedback to the Michigan Man Podcast at yahoo.com. That's the Michigan Man Podcast at yahoo.com. The Michigan Man Podcast on GBMW Go Blue Michigan Wolverine is produced at the studios of Robin Lynn Productions, Allen Park, Michigan. The Michigan Man Podcast is not affiliated with the University of Michigan. Go Blue!